On the night of July 9th, the morning of the 10th, one of our best friends and one of the world's most successful music managers has left us, hopefully to manage some big rock band in the sky. We're planning on dedicating parts of the next 2 editions of Fame Games to John Coletta's memory, celebrating the people and the artists whom he was involved with, many of whom he was responsible for bringing to international attention. While we're personally heartbroken and very sad about this, we would like this edition of Fame Games to be a celebration of John's achievements. People like John are extremely rare, and accomplishments like his are second to none. We've invited comments from some of John's best friends and colleagues, and we'll be playing them or in some cases reading them out during our program. This is DJ Cryer in the MMI recording studios with Paul Sadkowski, resident songwriter and producer, Graham Keeling, resident guitarist and co-writer, and Lexi and Jake, MMI artists in development. We have a change to our normal programming today due to the very sad and unexpected news of the death of John Coletta, who only lived 10 minutes from these studios, was a dear and close personal friend of the house, as well as one of the founders of Mere Music International. Our Indie Insider Information portion of the program will be a special dedication to John's memory, but also appropriate to Fame Games, as it will be a great lesson in the history of rock and roll. Mail has been pouring in from around the world from family, friends, and colleagues, and we'll be reading a select few of these messages. And instead of the CD Baby top sellers, which will appear again in 2 weeks' time, as well as my new best friend portion of the program, we'll be interviewing John's longtime friend and business partner who co-managed the supergroup Deep Purple, whose influence is still felt today. If you're into hard rock in any shape or form, you know who you owe it to. And that is Mr. Tony Edwards, who has also brought to us from his company First Night Records things such as Les Miserables, Kiss of the Spider-Woman, Miss Saigon, Blood Brothers, Anything Goes, Kiss Me Katie, South Pacific, My Fair Lady, and Mary Poppins, just to name a few. We'll also be walking down memory lane with Phil Manzanera, one of the world's best-known musicians and record producers, having shot to prominence in the early 70s as the lead guitarist for Roxy Music, and was also a close personal friend of John's. And our very own Paul Sadkowski, who formed Mere Music with John in 1996, will also fill in the gaps, as well as Graham Keeling, who knew John very well, because they know John's glory days best through the stories John would tell during their 5-year partnership. Now, the theme for today's show is inspired by the band that John is best known for. We all know who that is, don't we? Deep Purple. John designed the sleeve for the particular album that I'm using for the theme, which I found personally appropriate as the overall theme of the show, which for today is, who do we think we are? We'll be looking for that answer, not only in the next hour, but in these days and weeks to come, as we learn to live our lives knowing that one of our heroes, one of the greatest managers the music business ever saw, is dead. Please visit our personal tribute to John Coletta and a full biography of him at meremusic.com. This is Fame Games edition number 92, a special tribute to our friend, our colleague, founder of Mere Music International, John Coletta, who passed away last week at the age of 74, wasn't it, Paul?
Yep.
The first mail to come in was from Richie Blackmore. Now, Richie was actually the legendary lead guitarist and major creative force for Deep Purple. He was the riff man, wasn't he, Graham?
Oh, big style, yeah.
Now, Richie is working in the studio right now, but he did provide for us a quote this morning that came in. He says, "I first met with John Coletta in 1968. If it hadn't been for the meeting with him and Tony Edwards, Deep Purple would never have formed. He knew how to push the band in the right direction to get us media attention. He will be sadly missed. Our condolences to the family." Richie Blackmore. We also had mail from the family in Connecticut, the United States, from Peter and Jane Vercelli. They say, "Dear Paul, your message of remembrance for John appeared in my Google search, and I want to thank you for your warm words about him. We met you when we were in Spain, and I believed you worked with Anders recording a song. Anyway, my husband, Peter Vercelli, is one of John's first cousins and the closest to John in age. As you may know, the other first cousins are Roderick Cordara, Peter Parmigiani, John Parmigiani, and Paul Roberts. John was predeceased by his sister Ada, his father Fred, and his wife Sherry. I wonder how his mother is taking the news. I can't imagine losing your husband and both your children. I know how devoted John was to his mother." We send our condolences to you because our loss is your loss too. Sincerely, Jane and Peter Vercelli. We also had mail in from Rob Davis. Now, Rob is a songwriter for many, many hit songs, including songs for Fragma, Kylie, Spiller Groovejet, Holly Valance, NSYNC, and Enrique Iglesias. He says, "Hi, Paul. Terrible, terrible news. Sad that I haven't seen John for almost a year. I'd like to say that he was a lovely guy, very generous, always willing to help people in music, and had some great times in Marbella with him." That from Rob Davis. We also have an email from Andy Toomey, who is also a very well-known songwriter. He's written for people like the Sugar Babes, Point Break, and The Funk. And he has his own band called Fishbowl that are doing very well. He's written that he's very saddened by the news, and he says that the link to John's death with the football match makes it even more poignant because he was such a great lover of the sport. He died directly after the World Cup, didn't he? And all he wanted was for Italy to win.
So he got his wish.
He got his wish. Now, a singer that we haven't heard from in a while is Kim Appleby. She's from the pop group Mel and Kim, which was popular in the 80s. Now, when we met with John on the Saturday before he died, he actually played for us some music that Kim had been writing. Very, very, very good music. And she wrote in, also devastated by the news. She was to be John's next project, wasn't she?
Yep, which was one of the reasons why we were there, actually, but anyway.
Exactly. Kim says, "I was told Friday that John had passed away and was very shocked as I only spoke to him Saturday. God rest his soul. We were invited to his house for lunch. He was so gracious and so polite and made us feel so very much at home. We had lunch again before I left, and then I sent him some music, and he actually called me on Saturday before he passed away saying that he'd received the package and how much he loved my songs and my voice. The plan was to speak again in the week, but of course, sadly that didn't happen. So my brief impression of John was that he was a very generous soul who had a lot of spirit and enthusiasm for music, life, and women," she says with a big smile.
That's John.
What a wonderful combination, she said. "I send my condolences to his family and to those that truly knew him and loved him. Out of sight, but never out of mind. Best wishes always, Kim Appleby." Now, we'll also be giving you funeral details and a message from Tony Cotton on behalf of John's daughters, Michelle and Teresa, toward the end of the show. But first, I think we've got Tony Edwards on the line now. He is not only John's longtime managerial partner in Deep Purple, but also a world-famous manager in his own right.